Go to work, babe. Go. 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 Good, babe.
So the earliest memory I can remember regarding food, I think I've said this before, but I remember when I was very young, my mother and I were on our own, and she was a single teenage mom. She was 17 when she had me, and we moved away from the family home from her mother and father. We were living with them for a while. She wanted to move out on her own and do it on her own, and my father was an alcoholic, so she left him and didn't let him around me for a long time until he sobered up. Things were really difficult. I remember we were on welfare, and but I remember we were always very close to one another. I always felt love from her, if not from anybody else in the world, from her and my grandmother, but a lot from her, and we are still very close to this day. And I remember, treats she would get me here and there. I remember my first bag of chips. I don't remember much else about my childhood. I do remember my first bag of chips. It was a sunny day, and there was a corner store across the street, and we went there together, and I remember just looking up at the sky. I had a bag of dill pickle chips, and it had one of those stick-on tattoos in it, and from then on I was just hooked on dill pickle chips. They're my favorite. I don't know if that was my first bag of chips, actually. I mean, that's my first memory of my first bag of the bag of chips, so I remember eating the chips and just really enjoying the chips. Overall, my mother did try to feed me relatively healthily. She really tried to, even in school, like I said, it was very rare occasion where I would get a lunch with a lot of good snacks like fruit roll-ups, Dunkaroos, Gushers, those types of things, Lunchables. She usually just gave me like a sandwich and a fruit and a juice box or something like that. Very rarely did I get any unhealthy snacks. So I don't know where I developed this really intense love for these types of foods, but I always broke into my older brother's Boy Scout candy bars. My mom used to buy like 6, 7, 8 chocolate bars.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
In reality, it is a form of abuse, because even if it's not intentional, but I mean, to a degree, because I mean, at some point you're an adult, you have to realize that when your child's asking for 2, 3, 4 chocolate bars, there's an issue, and you have to intervene. That's your job, I was spoiled a lot by my grandparents, and my grandmother on my dad's side would babysit me a lot. My mom would be working or whatever after school when we moved back to my hometown. And I remember another memory of her just getting very cross with me and being concerned enough to tell my mother about it. But when she would babysit me, I just remember the food she made me. That's all that I remember, and that comforting feeling about going to her house, and she would sit at the stove smoking and making her sweet and sour meatballs. She made chicken nuggets with this like Diana sauce. I remember loving that. These Magic Moment vanilla puddings and butterscotch puddings. Oh my gosh, those were good. And she would give me some, and then I would ask for more. So she would give me more, and then I would ask for more. And I remember her at one point, I would ask for more until she yelled at me, and she would say, "C'est assez là," like in French, like that's enough. You already had enough snacks. And she would tell my mother when she would pick me up, she asked, I had to get a bit cross with her because she was asking for a lot of food. And that's all I would look forward to when I would go to see any of my grandparents. My grandmother, she let me just come over and just raid her cupboards. The first thing I would do is go to her cupboards, find snacks, and I think just eating snacks at her place all day long, it would just be, food was just involved in my life every single day. I mean, we do all eat, but it would be on my mind as, anything I do in my life, it would revolve around food. Like whenever I was younger, even going to theme parks, I was always interested in, you go to like, on a school trip, we would go to a theme park and an amusement park, and everyone would bring a packed lunch and not think anything about it. They would be thinking more about the rides. I would be thinking more about the food in the cafeteria, and I would just remember really, really longing for lunch money. Most of the time I didn't get it, but when I did get money, I would just be like, yes, I can buy lunch at the canteen, French fries, whatever. I was always interested in the food. Even I remember my stepfather used to try and involve me more. We would, as we're building our relationship, he would take me. He played hockey when I was really young, and he would take me with him. And the only reason I really liked to go, sadly, if I'm honest with myself, was because after the game, he would buy me a hot chocolate in a chuck wagon. I don't know if that's because whenever my mother was pregnant for me, she said the one thing she ate a lot of was chuck wagons, poutines, and she was always craving that. So she ate a lot of that when she was pregnant with me in high school. And she actually it was very taboo for her to be pregnant in high school at her age, 16, so she was in a lot of trouble with that. But anyway, I digress. So basically, that is, even at school, the cafeteria food, every day, chicken burger puts in. The chicken burgers were so good, I'd get like 3 packs of mayo. I was just an excessive eater and obsessed with food, and it becomes a habit. It becomes, you just mindless. You don't think about it. It's so part of your life now. I mean, from a young age, you're just obsessed. It's something that it's something that I've just realized not long ago. In all these years of being alive, I'm 34, that I have a problem. I just always never really thought about it, or just thought, I just like food. I overeat. It's something I can get a grip on. I've never realized that it's developed into a disease, an illness, something that's really hurting my body, something that's controlling my mind or trying to control my mind and make me act in a way that I'm just completely losing touch. Further and further I go into this illness, I'm losing touch with who I am. I'm losing control of who I am. Food was just always there, always comforting me through everything in life, not just one traumatic event. Good events, traumatic events, good events, bad times, every time was covered with the protection of food. And I'm terrified of taking that away. Even now as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about food. I'm terrified of taking that away because honestly, it feels like there's nothing. What happiness, It's going to take me a while to realize that there's other things. The other things don't appeal to me right now. The only thing that appeals to me is food. I don't care about, and I know that's such a bad way to think, and it's just, it's just always been on my mind. It's like a lover. It's a dysfunctional relationship because I know food is not my friend. It's not my protection. Ironically, it's the one thing that is doing the opposite of protecting me. It's hurting me. It's killing me. It's made me sick. I have sleep apnea. I have a pretty bad hormonal imbalance that's causing ovarian cysts. And I can hardly walk anymore. It's affecting my relationships with people. So I'm still looking into different help I can get. This is, like I said, it's not a quick process to healing, but I want to continually keep on the road of healing. I think it is possible. About 28 years of my life or so have been consumed by food. And every memory I can think of, I remember the food first. I don't remember the experience first. I remember the food first. And I just really want food to get the fuck out of my head. I really do. An addict is always at risk of relapse. Whether 2 months down the road, 6 months, 6 years, 20 years, there's always a chance of relapse. And I think the key is learning how to deal with those urges to relapse. That's all you can do, is roll with the punches. You can't really avoid them. Is cake next? No, tomorrow. I follow. I don't think I want cake because if I go to the gym and then I eat cake, I'll just hate myself. So I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, it just undoes all the progress. Undoes all the progress. So, what are we doing tomorrow, Jim? Are we gonna...
And cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger and then the gym? Oh no.
Okay, so
maybe
cheesecake.
match boost.
Cheesecake, enough.
Okay. And when I went to see a cognitive behavior therapist, they talked about ways of coping with coping mechanisms, because avoiding feelings and negative parts of life, it's not realistic, it's not healthy. You need to learn how to cope with them. So that's what I'm learning.